Hello, YouTube. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. All right. So I want to explore something that I'm meditating upon and thinking about, and actually working towards finding ways to get it into human language, because the concept is very deep. So I'm actually working on trying to communicate it verbally. And I think it's absolutely essential to being able to, everybody wants to be free of pain. I mean, let's get down to it. We spiritualize a lot of things, but I think what people want more than anything is to be free of pain. They want to be free of pain, as well as they want to be liberated by love. Everything, in fact, people die for lack of love pretty much more than anything else. And as I've said to you before many times, it is a well-known fact that you can kill an infant simply by doing one thing, and that is by not paying attention to the infant, communicating, relating to the infant, touching the infant. If you don't do that, the infant will die. Even if you feed it, even if you change its diapers, even if you give it food, if you do not interact with the child will die. Period. End of story. It's the thought of it is, I think it's the most horrific experience that a human being can have. So that's what we all want. And I think if we can be honest about that and get past our intellectualizations, our spiritualizations, our defenses, and get to that most vulnerable of need, of wanting to be loved, seen, heard, understood, connected with, you'll get a lot farther in the world. And so I want to talk to you about a very powerful concept in shamanism, and there's a bunch of different ways to talk about it, but Carlos Castaneda wrote about it extensively, and it was called Erasing Personal History. So I honestly don't remember. I did a channel video with Mahadeva. I think I talked about it, or he talked about it. I honestly don't remember. And it wasn't that it was an intense experience for me, but when I was done, I had to take a nap. That, and I'd been to the gym earlier, but I had to take a nap. And but there's something that's just out of my grasp when it comes to this idea of erasing personal history. So the way that Mahadeva describes it is that you follow, let me see if I can get it right. You create an experience. So your reality is an experience. This table that I'm touching now that has my laptop on it, my cup of tea, my everything around me is an experience that is created. You create an experience also, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. You carry it with you. It drives you. Nobody is ever alone. We're always relating to something inside our brains. It's called an introjection, and we all have them. People who have multiple personalities, things like that, they are really no different than us, except that their experience of relating to aspects of themselves internally is really extreme. So much so that they can partition, like a hard drive, they can partition themselves so that there are different personalities in there. But you are that also. So you have these introjections, which are little people in your head that judge you or support you or love you or something. You're always relating yourself to something all the time. And what you have within you is this personal history. My name is so and so. I was born here. My parents did this to me. The world does that to me. And it, creates everything. It creates your beliefs, your outlooks. I was just scanning through YouTube and listening to somebody who believes that when you die, your soul goes to places where you can be manipulated and deceived, and he seemed to feel that this earth was some kind of a prison that you live in, and that very well may be the case for some people. They can manifest that reality when they die, but me listening to it, that's his personal history. I already know enough about him to know that he has issues with authority figures. I already know, without knowing any of the specifics of his personal history, that he has issues with his parents, and that his parents controlled him, or he felt controlled by his parents. He didn't feel that he had freedom. And that's such an extensive personal history within him that it doesn't stretch just through, he's already stretched it out into his afterlife. So unless he comes to some realization to change that, if he continues with that, he's going to create, without a doubt, the rest of his life is going to be, there's going to be this pressure from authority figures telling him what to do, and he's going to be constantly rebelling and fighting, and that's going to come out in his politics, that's going to come out in his spirituality, that's going to come out in whatever else he does. And not only that, he's already set it up so that when he dies, he can still fight with dead loved ones, archons, things like that are going to seek to take away his freedom, take away his power, and that all comes from his personal history. So your personal history becomes your identity, and it's like your life. Without it, you die. You feel you're going to die. Little infants die if they aren't introjected with a personal history. They are these blank hard drives that have no software on them. And so I'm minimizing it a little bit, but that's part of it. They have no software. So they have nobody in there putting software into their brains to tell them what to relate to. So we're going to talk about narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. I'll try not to go too deep in it, but it's really important to understand that, because anybody listening to me, if you believe that when you die, there are false beings of light who will seek to deceive you so they can trap you back into this prison of the earth, I'm here to tell you that you are suffering from some aspect of narcissism. Because narcissism doesn't mean I'm all about myself, although that is the behavior that they express. Narcissism means I have no self inside of me. They have no introjection in there that they can bounce off of to create a self. There's emptiness. And that emptiness is absolutely horrifically painful. And so to overcome that emptiness of having no self and having no positive, loving, introjected figure in their mind, in their psyche, what they do is, because there's no parent there, even if there might be an abusive or neglectful parent. There's no true parent. A parent is as a verb, a being that parents you, that nurtures you, that puts software into you, that programs you to become a human. As you know, I dated a woman who had borderline personality disorder, which is a form of narcissistic personality disorder. And we were The Good Place. You remember the series The Good Place that was on Netflix for a while? And the whatever the woman's name is, who's like the helper, you call her name, she shows up, and they'd say, and this woman, and she'd say, not a woman. And this woman I dated would go, that's me, not a woman. And I thought it was cute at first, and then I thought it was weird, and then it creeped me out, and then I understood. She's absolutely right. She doesn't relate to people because she doesn't have a self. People with this disorder don't have a sense of self. So she doesn't have one. So she doesn't understand. It means there's no introjected program within her that tells her who to be, tells her how to respond. And so if the infant doesn't die from lack of interaction, which is a horrific experience, I can only imagine how horrific it is. If the infant doesn't die, it will be warped. It will have no sense of self. But what it will do is it will create a false introjected personality. It will create a fantasy where they are perfect. They don't know anything about being imperfect because that's what your parents are supposed to help you with. Your parents are supposed to be there and reflect when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're disappointed, when you're feeling self-righteous, when you're feeling meaningless and all that. And the parent responds by reflecting back to you that you exist and that you have value for no other reason other than you exist. And that is what creates the introjection in the child. Then as the child grows up, they bump up against objective reality, which goes against their fantasies, and they become disappointed, they become angry, they become hurt, they become frustrated. Basically, objective reality will not give them what they fantasize about, because they're introjected with a loving parent who says, that's okay. You can be sad, you can be angry, you can be disappointed, you can be, all of whatever negative feeling you have. But you have value because you exist, and it's all going to be okay. And then the child reorients and goes back because of that personal history. So if you have an absolute overwhelming belief that your end result is going to be this empty universe that is going to lord over you, control you, steal your energy, it tells me that you went through some kind of dysfunctional childhood where you were not programmed correctly. You were not loved. And that has now become your personal history. It has become your, as Mahadeva puts it, your story. The story that drives you through your continued experience. So before I continue to just get lost in semantics here, because I really want to explain it, and I'm really trying to find the words for it myself, I'm going to read an excerpt from Carlos Castaneda's book, Tales of Power. By the way, I want to start going off on Carlos Castaneda, but you've probably already heard that. In any case, I read these books. I voraciously read all of these books when they were being written. He started in 1968 and he went all the way up until through the 90s he was writing. And I voraciously consumed all of them. And I had very powerful experiences doing some of the techniques that he taught. And I really was very grateful for this teaching of personal history, erasing personal history. So let me read it here. So I'm going to read it now. Okay, I don't know what this is. This says, erasing personal history, the immense effort needed to establish self-pity as a feature of your island. He explained, I'm now reading, quote, he explained, I believe he's when he says he, because we're getting in the middle of it, he's talking about Don Juan, which is in these books, the Native American shaman teacher for Carlos Castaneda. He, Don Juan, explained that in order to help erase personal history, 3 other techniques were taught. They were losing self-importance, assuming responsibility, and using death as an advisor. The idea was that without the beneficial effect of those 3 techniques, erasing personal history would involve the apprentice in being shifty, evasive, and unnecessarily dubious about himself and his actions. I would love to understand what he meant by that, but let us continue. Quote, Don Juan asked me to tell him what had been the most natural reaction I had in moments of stress, frustration, and disappointment before I became an apprentice. He said that his own reaction had been wrath. I told him that mine had been self-pity. Although you're not aware of it, you had to work your head off to make that feeling, self-pity, a natural one, he said. By now, there is no way for you to recollect the immense effort that you needed to establish self-pity as a feature of your island. Self-pity bore witness to everything you did. It was just at your fingertips, ready to advise you. Death is considered by a warrior to be a more amenable advisor, which can also be brought to bear witness on everything one does, just like self-pity or wrath. Obviously, after an untold struggle, you had learned to feel sorry for yourself. But you can also learn in the same way to feel your impending end, and thus you can learn to have the idea of your death at your fingertips as an advisor. Self-pity is nothing in comparison to death as an advisor. So let me stop there for a second. So self-pity is a choice. Feeling angry is a choice. Feeling trapped is a choice. Now, here's the dilemma. I'm starting to understand, now that I understand more and more about narcissistic personality disorder, I'm starting to understand what Carlos Castaneda is really writing about. Because I didn't tell you in the beginning of this, and I've said it before, Carlos Castaneda was a fraud, an absolute, utter, complete fraud. You couldn't become more of a fraud than he was. He was, he stole everything, the luminous egg. He stole from various different traditions. He could get away with it in 1968 when he first started writing. In 1968, in case you want to know, he was a graduate student at UCLA as not a sociology, I forget the study, but anyway, he was trying to get his PhD. And in order to do that, he was supposed to go interview Native American tribal shamans. And instead of doing that, he made one up. He made one up, named him Don Juan Matus, and said he was from a particular tribe, I can't remember. And then created this completely false spiritual practice that in reality had absolutely nothing to do with any indigenous Native American practice whatsoever. And because it was 1968 and they didn't have things like internet and and a lot of these tribes were still isolated in areas and all that kind of stuff, he got away with it. And it is my personal belief, based on reading these books and understanding him, that he suffered from narcissistic personality disorder. But the thing about narcissists is that they can be absolutely brilliant conduits of the spirit because they have no identity. Because they have no identity, they can fully commit to whatever falsehood they are a part of, because they don't have a personal history. And because they don't have an objective reality to relate to bounce off of. They live in a fantasy world. And so what narcissists, like the personality disorder, we're talking people with severe mental illness. People who have this disorder are notorious for not knowing the difference between their own fantasies and objective reality. So what will happen is, in a moment, they will make a decision to lie or confabulate. So they'll either consciously choose to tell an untruth in order to get what they want, or they will transfer back and forth between the objective reality that they live in when they're operating with another person in objective reality, and they'll translate back and forth between their fantasy, where if something is true in their fantasy that works in their favor, or that supports whatever narrative, true or untrue, that they're telling somebody else in order to get what they want, they can very easily shift between the two. And in their fantasy world, when they say, no, what I did is I did this for you and I did that for you, and I'm actually CEO and I'm a billionaire, in their fantasy world it's true. And because on an emotional level they relate to their fantasy, their emotional reality becomes objective reality, and therefore they're not lying. They feel that it's true. I'll give you an example I've shared with you, which was very interesting. This was about an individual who had multiple personalities because he was, as a young boy, he was horrifically sexually and physically abused by his stepfather. So in order to survive that, he fragmented and he became multiple personalities. And when that became years later, when it became known that that was happening, the stepfather was being interviewed by some newspaper, some journalist. And the journalist was saying, so, this evidence says that you physically and sexually abused this man. What is your response to that? And he had a response which was, unless you understand narcissistic personality disorder, you'll think that it's just a really cheap evasion. He said, well, if I had done those things, certainly somebody would have seen it. And then he said, that's my feeling about it. Now, the journalist didn't catch on to it, because when you're dealing with those people, you put them in this category of they're crazy or they're lying. But what he was saying was, I operate from my feelings. I don't have a personal history. I don't know what happened yesterday. I don't have an identity. I don't know who I am. You say that I did those things. The way I remember it was, this. Or then he gives you this, because he doesn't know whether it happened or not. He says, well, if I did that, somebody would have said this or said that. That's my feeling. So therefore, if it's his feeling, which aligns with his false fantasy, which is not part of objective reality, then it must be true. Do you understand where I'm going with this? We live in a world we call objective reality. And in order to navigate through this objective reality, we have to have this thing called personal history. I did this, my name is that, I do this, these kinds of things. If you grew up in a dysfunctional home, most of us did to some degree, especially if you're on my channel. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just people seeking spirituality usually have some kind of pain they're trying to work through. If you grew up in a dysfunctional home, you were not introjected with a personal history that said you could overcome your problems and be successful and happy. You were introjected with some degree of shame, objectification, being minimized, being told that you have value based on what you do, not on who you are. So you have an introjection that says, who said you could do that? Who said you could be successful at that? Who said you're supposed to be happy? Who said you're attractive? Nobody wants you, or whatever it is. That's your personal history. And it completely determines your actions. It determines your behavior, which creates projective identification in the people you run into, which means, as you know, projection is when you project onto others what you're feeling about yourself, whether you're aware of it or not. So people who say you can't trust anybody, everybody's out to get you, that's how you feel about yourself. You don't trust yourself. You can't tolerate that feeling. It's too painful. It's too shameful. So you see it in everybody else. And you take the anger that you have towards yourself and you put it outward on everybody else. You can't trust anybody. Everybody's like, see what that guy did? You see it? You can't trust anybody. So projective identification is if you walk around every time you bump into somebody and you say, you're just lying to me. I can't trust you. I know you're going to blah, blah, blah. Eventually, you're going to stimulate people to act exactly the way that you've described them to. And then you have this justification. See, I told you, everybody's like that. Now, unless the other person is conscious and aware, then they're going to go, that's interesting you think that about me. I'm not doing that. And you know what? I don't want to do that. But if they're not, you're going to provoke them and anger them to such a point where they will become the very thing that you said they were going to be. And here you've got your personal history is controlling your behavior. It's controlling your introjection, your internal programming. And it's controlling if things work out the way you narcissistically wanted to, it's actually controlling other people so that they co-sign it. And then you manifest it in your reality. And I think about my brother, to my knowledge, who's still living on the street and refuses to get help, even though throughout time I've seen him had numerous opportunities to be given a free ride, and he won't take it. His personal history won't let him. In fact, if you talk to him, he'll tell you it's my fault. Tell you that I did it. He'll say that his younger brother did it to him. There is an exercise that I want to teach you. It's a meditation, which I learned from Carlos Castaneda books, which I believe he probably stole from Yogi Bhajan's Kundalini Yoga. Yogi Bhajan himself had narcissistic personality disorder, as it turns out. He was also a fraud in his own way. But the thing about it, again, they were both so brilliant at channeling knowledge. And if Castaneda had actually lived what he was challenging, he might have cured himself. I don't even know if he knew that he had a mental disorder or not. Same with Yogi Bhajan. If Yogi Bhajan had lived and practiced what he channeled in his Kundalini Yoga, he might have cured himself as well. All right. So the practice, I think I've shared it with you guys before. Now, the way you can do it, you can sit yogic style on the floor. You can sit half lotus, full lotus. You can, if you've got bad knees like me, you can sit on a chair with your feet flat on the ground and your back straight, your neck. Make sure that your neck isn't craned back like this, that you're looking down if you're sitting on a chair, looking down at, a couple feet in front of your toes. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring up to your mind something that happened to you that still bothers you. Something somebody said, something that happened to you. Maybe it was a physical altercation, maybe somebody hurt your feelings, maybe somebody demeaned you, something. something that is still emotionally with you months, years later. And what you're going to do is you're going to imagine that scenario. So when you close your eyes, you're going to imagine being back in that scenario, but as an observer. And you're going to be watching yourself at that younger age with whatever or whomever was doing whatever they were doing to you. And the goal of it is you are going to take back your energy, your emotions. So the idea behind it, the metaphor that Castaneda used, if I'm remembering it correctly, was that there was energy strings that connected you to people. And that's how people stole your energy. This is actually a real thing. That when you interact with people, you do create energetic bonds, and even years later, they can still be pulling your energy from you. Every time you think about them. In fact, narcissists, abusers, are notorious for doing things and saying things which want to encourage people to remember the abuse. Remember that I told you this. And remember, I was the one that said that. They do that a lot, and that is a way of getting their energy lines into you so that, yes, years later when they've discarded you and you've moved on to somebody else, but you're still damaged and you relive the event and you think about what they said, they get an energy boost. They may not know where it's coming from, but they're siphoning your energy off of you. So when you imagine the situation where something, whatever it was, happened to you, it could be something as simple as, you didn't get cast in the school play, or it could be something really painful and horrible, something your parents have done, who knows. So you're going to see your younger self, you're going to see the situation, and you're going to be in it, and you're going to observe. And what you're going to do is you're going to inhale, and you're going to start with your head pointed with your chin over your right shoulder. And you're going to inhale and sweep your head to the left. Now, when you sniff to the left, you are going to take back your energy. So the feeling should be there. You should have the feeling. It's okay if you don't, but have the feeling of what you felt like. You were angry, you were humiliated, you were frightened, you were whatever it was. You're gonna pull back that energy that you had in that situation. And then on the exhale, you're going to turn your head back over to your right shoulder. And on the exhale, you're going to release their energy that they put into you. So the inhale is you take your energy back that you were giving to them. And the exhale is you give back their energy that they put into you. And in this way, you will be erasing that experience because it lives within you. And the truth is, you may not even remember it accurately. Have you ever watched a movie and there was you haven't seen the movie in 10 years and there was one scene you really liked? I had this happen recently. I'm like, I want to watch that one scene, and I watched it and it was like, that's nowhere near the way I remember it. I remember it being bigger and no, I had an intense experience of it, but it wasn't what was actually going on. So who knows what really happened? In other words, the point being, is it real? Did it really happen? Or is it just that it exists within you? So the way that works again is you imagine the scenario, you have all your feelings, you start with your head over the right shoulder and you inhale. Take in back your energy, exhale, release their energy. And you do that until the charge around the scenario is gone. And then you can bring yourself out of the meditation. If you find yourself thinking about it again, go back and keep doing that meditation. I forget what they call it. He had a specific word for it, a specific phrase for it. Do that meditation until that has no more power over you. You don't have a charge connected to it. And now it is not programming you. It is not your personal history. It's not introjected inside of you telling you how to react to any situation. It's as simple as, if I leave here to go walk down the street to go to the, because where I'm living, there's a big community mailbox with a bunch of mailboxes. If I walk down the street to the community mailbox for this block, depending on what was going on the night before or how I'm responding, I might be thinking to myself, as somebody drives by, oh, he's thinking, what am I doing in this neighborhood? Who is that guy? I don't know who he is. What's he doing in my neighborhood? That is an old introjection. Could be because when I used to come home from college, my brother would be waiting for me in the driveway. And as soon as I got out of the car, he'd be saying, what the hell are you doing back here? It could be something like that. Old stuff, still old history driving me and bouncing back and forth inside of me off of my perceived identity. All right, so let's continue to read and let's see what else I have to say about it. All right, so he goes on to say, Don Juan pointed out then that there was seemingly a contradiction in the idea of change. On the one hand, the sorcerer's world called for a drastic transformation, and on the other, the sorcerer's explanation said that the island of the tonal, so there's the tonal and the nagual. Nagual is infinity, tonal is limited three-dimensional reality. That the sorcerer's explanation said that the island of the tonal was complete and not a single element of it could be removed. In other words, your created internal reality. Change then did not mean obliterating anything, but rather altering the use assigned to those elements. Take self-pity, for instance, he said. There is no way to get rid of it for good. That's not true. It has a definite place and character in your island, a definite facade which is recognizable. Thus, every time the occasion arises, self-pity becomes active. It has history. If you then change the facade of self-pity, you would have shifted its place of prominence. So I'm going to tell you my take on that. So this is accurate. You are an infinite, no, this isn't him talking, this is me talking. You are an infinite soul. You are a light of pure infinity, of pure awareness, who has taken on an incarnation, and in that incarnation you have chosen to create an avatar. That avatar is then further influenced by your association with your parents, your siblings, and then you create an even more, more of your avatar gets different layers to it based on the choice of reaction that you have based on whatever stimulation comes from your interactions, right? So the facade is that at some point, if we take self-pity, for example, this is one example. Let's say, for example, as a 3-year-old, your sibling did something to you that hurt your feelings. And you went in and you cried in front of your uncle, right? So you cried in front of your uncle and you felt sorry for yourself. Nobody loves me. My sibling said such and such. I'm unlovable. And because of the self-pity that created perhaps a codependent response where he then gave you something or gave you love or gave you attention or gave you a ice cream cone, something like that. You got an ice cream cone for it, or you just got attention in some way. So then you decide from then on that self-pity is the way to get what you need from other people, love and attention. I'll give you an example. I was in the grocery store last night. Last night I was in the grocery store and I'm just sitting there waiting for them to, do whatever. I think I come from the gym and I was just kind of zoning out and tired. And person behind me says, "You and I have the same hairstyle, but I think you got half an inch on me." And I turned around and I could see that he had, a cap on, but that he was bald. He had a shaved head. And I said, what do you mean, half-inch of hair? And he says, no, you're a half-inch taller than me. I'm 5'8". And I said, that's right, I'm 5'8.5". That's perfect. That's pretty good. Great little banter, right? Okay. Then I'm back to looking at, pay for the stuff. Then he goes on to tell about how he has a tumor and that the Mayo Clinic can't get rid of it, and he's no longer, he's telling me all this, I don't know this guy, and he's telling me that he's not, he's no longer taking opiates, and it's really painful, and at the same time, he's like smiling and, that weird, you know what I'm talking about? It's just clear the guy is in a lot of pain. He's sad. He's lonely. It's also clear that he is using self-pity as a way to manipulate attention, because I don't even know the guy, and he's already dumping all this onto me in the hopes of getting me to feel sorry for him so that, whatever, I'll give him some kind of attention. I smiled and said something to the effect of, I'm sorry you're going through that, my friend. And of course I walked out, because it's, I don't respond to that kind of manipulation well, and I can't help him. If I can't help him, I don't feel the need to indulge in that with him. So that is an example of somebody who uses self-pity as his identity. Now, in this excerpt, the fictional Don Juan, which by the way never existed, the fictional Don Juan says that he used anger. He calls it wrath, which is a little bit different, but he says he used anger. So his response to when he was frustrated or confused or stressed was to get angry. That's definitely me. I respond with anger to things that I don't understand, or I don't have any control over, things don't go my way. That's my first response, is to get angry. And Castaneda says his first response was self-pity. That's a facade. It's a facade that takes on a life of its own. As he said here, you had to work really, really hard. You had to work your head off in order to have self-pity be your unconscious response to life. Being angry takes years and years and years, for whatever reason. You got some kind of a payoff at some point. It gave you something that you wanted. Thinking back, I don't know if this was it. I remember being a little kid. I couldn't have been more than, 5 or 6 years old. My older brother, abusive, and he was, I don't know what was going on, but we had been wrestling around, and he was laughing, and he let me get on top of him, and he said, go on, right here, go on. And I took him literally, and I clocked him. And he got really angry, but it changed how he responded to me in that moment. And so I got the message, if I get angry and I defend myself, if I'm willing to do that, I can get some protection. I can be safe. So that could have been one of the reasons that kept me, responding in anger. By the way, just to let you know, I've never been in a fist fight unless it's been in controlled conditions. I'm not a bully. I don't pick fights. I never have, except when I was really young. Just to let you know, I don't want you to create this is my self-history now. I don't want you to create an idea that I went around beating people up. I didn't. Let's see, what else? So the idea of facades is that it's that simple. So this is a long way of me getting to what Mahadeva is telling me, which is that I want you to think about what it is that goes wrong in your life. You can't be successful. You can't be happy. You can't be loved. You can't be healthy. Whatever it is that you can't do, that frustrates you, that you're projecting onto the world, to understand that is a facade that you've created, because at some point, that belief, that projection, something or somebody gave you the experience that you were being rewarded for holding on to that. And that's why you then indulged in creating it. And it is driving you. The end result is that poverty, illness, lack of success, lack of love, loneliness, insecurity, all of those things are choices. They are responses that are knee-jerk responses that you manufactured over time so that you would get what you wanted out of objective reality. So this is something that I became aware of a long time ago, and I've made, I tell myself this all the time. When I find myself getting really upset, I go, being angry or upset or sad about this accomplishes nothing. Because I came to realize that, I don't know how old I was, early 20s, that I was really upset or really angry. And I realized that on an unconscious level, what I was trying to do was I was trying to get the universe to feel sorry for me. It was totally unconscious. I wasn't aware of it. But it was exactly like what a little kid does to a parent, trying to get somebody to manipulate them out of, because of your anger or you're having a temper tantrum. It's a manipulation. It's a way of trying to control people to give you what you want. And it's something that happens when you're a little kid, but in adulthood, people are just angry all the time, or they respond by being angry, or self-pity. And self-pity especially is a way of manipulating people, controlling them so that they will love you, give you attention, or give you what you want. But when we do it to objective reality, it never works. Because objective reality is not codependent. The matrix that you've created to live within is not your enemy. It is actually here to help you, but it has no agenda except to give you resources when you follow your true path, your true soul desire. When you do that, the universe, the matrix, provides you with all of the resources to achieve your greatest happiness. When you, because you are living through a facade, which is a way of trying to manipulate people and manipulate objective reality to give you what you want, people may respond, but the matrix won't. The matrix will either, depending on the deal that you made with it, the matrix will either shut down and have no response to you, which is why people think that life is cruel and this is an empty universe and there's no love, and that's because they're operating out of their fear, their greed, their desire to control and manipulate the universe to give them what they want. And what they want is not in alignment with their soul. And the universe says, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to co-sign that. You programmed me to only co-sign you when you follow your soul desire. And if you're not going to do that, I'm just going to simply file not found. I'm not going to respond. Or depending on the deal that you made, you may have created your matrix to respond negatively. That when you are not coming from your soul, your deepest joy, and you're doing it out of fear or out of a desire to control, manipulate, get what you want, the matrix may respond by giving you something negative. Now this happens with me. If I try and go down a career path that isn't what I'm supposed to do, it not only doesn't work, I end up having real problems. Just problems pile up. So I've clearly created a matrix before I was born that was going to respond negatively if I wasn't following my true soul path, which is one of the reasons I work so hard to do that, because I don't like the negative response. I like the positive response. But I have to die to myself in order to do that. I have to erase my personal history, which, like you, I am attached to. I think it keeps me alive. I think it protects me. I think it, does whatever I think it does. And I have to reach beyond that, which is one of the reasons I'm doing this whole Mahadeva channeling thing, because when I channel Mahadeva, I die to a lot of the things that I think keep me safe, and it's frightening. But I want to live in that. I want to go beyond where I'm at. Anyway, so I could go on and on and on, as you know, but I'll stop right there. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. And the way that works is, if you have a question, you write the word question. And if you have a feeling, you can write honest feeling and share your vulnerable feelings. And, I will respond however I respond. So it's always good to wear life, as somebody said, like a loose garment around me, because there's a very good chance I may push your buttons. So just get used to that. All right, let's see. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says, hello. You should go check out his website. He is one of my certified astrology apprentice. You can go to his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com, and he will give you a good reading. And he says, hello, Mahadeva. I see Saturn is putting you to work, which is absolutely true. As you can see, I'm working very hard on my channel right now. And that is because, among other reasons, I am in what's called a Saturn Mahadasha. I just entered it. So that means that Saturn is really controlling my chart, my life, and Saturn is about hard work. And Saturn is doing actually some pretty amazing things. I'm physically, just to let you know, those Vedic astrologers out there, Saturn is retrograde in the 6th house in Capricorn, and Mars is in the 3rd house in Libra. And if you know anything about Vedic astrology, it means that they have a mutual aspect. And so Saturn and Mars, when they go together, it creates power and strength. And so Saturn in the 6th house, now that I'm past my, I'm in my later adult years, Saturn is just going crazy for me. So he's doing me a lot of good. So you're absolutely right there, Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Thundra Staves Rangel says, good evening. You should check her out as well. She is also one of my certified Vedic astrologers. She's got a bunch of other things she does. She's going to be a certified lightning qigong healer as well. So check out her website, thundra.thunderwizard.com. And if you want me to do for you what I just did for them, you can go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com. And if you pass the very easy certification, I will give you your own website. And if you come on here and say hello and put your, like Vincent did, such and such .thunderwizard.com, I will throw people your way. All right, let's keep going here. I follow water. Question. Is it okay to seek out these attributes in my girlfriend? Which attributes are you talking about? Maybe you're going to explain them. She seems to be my pincushion and guiding me through life. I feel so bad, but she sticks by my side. I don't have enough information. You haven't given me enough information to understand what you're talking about. She's your pincushion. What does that mean? Do you abuse her? You stick pins in her? That doesn't sound good. And guiding me through life, I feel so bad. I mean, am I hearing you right, that you are abusive to her, but she takes it and you see that as guiding you through your life and you feel guilty about it? Is it okay to seek out the attributes of somebody who wants to be abused? Is that what you're asking me? The obvious question is no, of course not. Assuming that that's true, but really there's no way for me to know, because this is obviously very complicated and I would need to have an hour with you to ask you all kinds of questions, which is why people get personal sessions with me. I can't give you what you need in this one thing, because I don't even know if I understood you correctly. But thank you for the question anyways. Thundra Staves Rangel, honest feeling. It makes me sad to think about how much effort my parents put into hiding their emotions to protect me from the chaos they grew up with. They never seemed human to me. I understand that feeling and I am with you. I feel for you for having that. So Scrobe Do you know how this works? This is if you see people writing the word question in all caps, so look at yours. If I'm not paying attention, would I see that? No. So if you're asking a question, give yourself, put the effort into helping yourself by making sure that I see it. So try again. I'm not going to respond to that because it's not formatted in a way that I want to respond to. Creative Virgo, honest feeling. I am thrilled my intuition called me to YouTube as I am preparing to see Mama-san, who's an expert in self-pity, and if that's not achieved, anger comes up. This is great timing. Okay. It's an honest feeling, so I won't respond to a feeling. Atham Animist, question. What is karmic restitution? I've never heard that phrase before. I don't know. I understand those words if I put them together. So you mean like something that is resolved because of karma? So, karma is not something that should be... People make too much out of karma. They give karma more power than it has. Karma isn't something outside of you. Karma is nothing more than your own creation. Karma will cease the moment that you stop creating it. So here's a reality. And again, I want to challenge all those of you who think that when you die, you're going to be confronted with a false being of light. I mean, what a fucked up universe that is. And that represents narcissism, by the way. I didn't get to it, but the thing that made Castaneda brilliant was the fact that he had narcissistic personality disorder, which made him brilliant at thoroughly committing to his deception. But narcissists are actually extremely intuitive, and they are extremely good at knowing the deepest aspect of your emotions, your weaknesses especially. So they can read people amazingly well based on your wounds. They can't read people that are, evolved, but normal rest of us humans that have wounds, they can read us like a book. They're very good at it. And that makes them brilliant because they know how to break somebody down. And that process can be wonderful, to break yourself down. Because what they're doing to others is what they want to do to themselves. They want to break themselves down to emptiness so they can rebuild themselves back up. They don't know how to do that unless they've got some kind of true spiritual path. But Castaneda's later years, his last couple of books, I was really, really into what he was teaching, but it created this feeling of emptiness, and it created like this feeling of dread that is similar to the neo-Gnostic, which is what it is, belief that there's false beings of light. Castaneda's afterlife was if you survived not being consumed by his version of God. He believed that there was a version of God which was basically this giant creature that consumed your awareness, basically totally, which very narcissistic, consumed you and then you didn't exist anymore. But he felt if he could get past that, if he could reduce all of his limitations, his fear, his self-pity, etc., 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 his self-importance, his anger, if he could completely release all of that, which would be similar to becoming totally enlightened, that then what he called the eagle, which was his version of God, wouldn't see him and he would get past it, and then he would be able to live in eternity. And when I got to that part, I went, what the hell is this? Because it felt so horrible. It was such a hopeless view of this empty, predatory universe, which is how narcissists experience everything. They experience the world as this empty, predatory universe because, of course, that is their projection. They are empty, they have no sense of self, and they are predators. What does that have to do with what we were saying? I don't know. You asked me about karma. Karma is nothing more than what you create. So what I was going to say is, if when you die, every single one of us, no matter what you've done, you will be introduced to that light. That's why when people have near-death experiences, they see the light. And if you have any respect for Tibetan Buddhism, they tell you exactly what's going to happen. What's going to happen is somewhere near your death, I don't know if it's after you've spent 40 days releasing and helping those who are mourning, or if it's right afterwards. I honestly don't know. But at some point near your death, after you die, you are going to see this light. And if you respond to that light out of fear, you will be pulled back into material manifestation. In other words, you will reincarnate, or you'll go to the underworld or some bardo or some place like that until you pop back out into manifestation again. But even Hitler, the worst possible human being you can imagine, when they die, if they see that light and without fear go directly into it and die to themselves, become obliterated by that light, they will never be incarnated again. So the exact opposite of what the neo-Gnostics project, which is their narcissism. They may not have mental disorders, but they definitely have narcissism. And they project their internal emptiness onto the universe. And the thing is that there is a payoff in staying limited. That's why when we created our self-pity or our anger or our self-importance or our narcissism or our codependence, whatever it is that we created that is our personal history, we created it because there is a payoff. People who are miserable, there's a payoff. I'm going to share a story again that some people can't stand hearing it because they think that I'm judging them. But what's really happening is they can't tolerate the thought of letting go of their attachment to their misery. I was 15 years old and we were driving down the road. My friends, we were all, back in the 70s, long hair, smoking cigarettes, whatever. Smoking weed, back then the weed that popped and crackled because there were seeds in it and that kind of stuff. And we're driving down and we're listening to, on the cassette player boombox, we're listening to Judas Priest. And we're driving down the road alongside the California Ocean. And the car in front of us slows down and pulls over a little bit, but doesn't stop. The passenger door opens and this woman comes tumbling out. And the car speeds off as this woman tumbles down the road. And she, of course, she's sitting on the road. She's, scratched up, bruised up, and she's clearly very traumatized. And we stop the car, 15, 16-year-old kids, and we stop the car. Are you okay? What's going on? And we see the guy. He slows down and he turns around and he comes back. And me being a little 15-year-old, I stand there and I puff my chest out because I'm so angry that somebody did that, which wasn't a good idea because then he got in my face and almost, he wanted to hurt me. And we were saying to her, you can come with us. You don't have to go back with him. We'll take you wherever you want to go. You want to go to the police station? Wherever you go, you're safe. You can come with us. And then by that time, as that guy's looking down on me and he's getting, threatening me, a bunch of other cars pulled over and a bunch of adult men have gotten out by this time and they're saying, hey, why don't you pick on somebody your own size? And they're pushing him aside and they're giving him a hard time. And everybody's going to this woman, come on, let's go. I'll take you to the hospital. I'll take you to the police station. Because remember, there was no such thing as cell phones back then. You actually had to drive places. We'll take you wherever you want to go. And throughout this whole thing, probably half an hour, maybe, this whole thing happens. Probably not that long, maybe 15 minutes. This whole drama goes on by the side of the road. The woman says nothing. It's clear to her that she has far more support than is necessary, and she doesn't ever have to get in that car. If she had said, my purse is in the car, 20 of us would have gone in there, pushed that guy aside, grabbed her purse. We would have done whatever was necessary to make her safe. And after everybody, adults, teenagers, whomever, men and women both, begging this woman, please, we will take you wherever you need to go, without saying a word, she gets back up, walks in, and gets back in the car with the guy. Why? Because that's her personal history. Because there's a payoff in the misery. And the fear of the unknown, which is to release that, to die to that, to drop that facade and to learn something new and to begin something different, was far too frightening and painful, which is exactly what happens at death. For people who bring that self-history with them, the light appears, which is their own soul, and their fear of letting go of the payoff of their misery is so frightening that they run from the light, and then they go and will be manifested again without a doubt. This is karma. So asking me about karma, what is karmic restitution? I'm asking because it came to me in meditation and haven't found a solid definition. It is just burning off karma. How about restitution, resolving it, meaning it doesn't exist anymore? How about that? This is something that Mahadeva is teaching me, that he lives in a state where there is no karma. What you perceive as karma, something that controls you, doesn't exist. It is a creation like everything else. So karma is something we created to further define this reality so we can stay here. What if there is no karma? Karmic restitution? Great question. You heard it in meditation. There's something in it for you. Maybe I didn't answer your question, but that's what comes to my mind. Vincent.thunderwizard.com question. What is the test for the healing certification? What is the test? I don't remember. You can ask Thundra, because I put it in the video. To be honest, I put it up there a long time ago because people were asking me for it, and then nobody, I created the whole certification and nobody bought it, and then I forgot about it. So I got to be honest with you, I don't remember. But Thundra should be able to tell you. Thundra, what is the healing test, certification test? I follow water question. Please write it in all caps because otherwise I might miss it. Mother attributes that I'm missing from childhood. All right, let's see. That's obviously not the full question. I don't know, what is that in response to me responding to something you said earlier? Is it okay to seek out these attributes? So seeking out the attributes of mother attributes that I'm missing from childhood. See, dude, there's just way too much stuff there. Again, there's no way for me to know. You may be experiencing it as mother attributes, but was your mother abusive? Was she overprotective? Did she minimize you? Did she love you? I don't know. So asking me that brings with it the assumption that you know what your issues are. You obviously have some issues because you wouldn't be conflicted about it. And again, this whole thing about the pincushion and you feel bad, there's something underneath the surface that I'm not aware of, and I don't think you are completely aware of it either. The thing is that all straight men seek out their mother. So your first big relationship will be your projection of your mother. That's what's going to turn you on about, especially your first wife, she's going to remind you of your mother. If your mother was good, it'll be good. If your mother, like mine, was not so good, your first marriage might not be so great. But that can all be taken care of if you do the work to, again, erase your personal history, work through all those pains, get all that energy back, and then you'll be in a position to find somebody who will truly mother you, which all men are looking for. Anyway, I follow water. You sound like a young guy. It would benefit you to have a mentor, a psychologist, somebody to talk these things through, because you obviously are having a hard time picking out what's really going on there. Because there's nothing wrong technically with seeking out mother attributes if you're a straight guy. I mean, that's what you want, among other things. You want to find somebody that that nurtures you and shows you your potential. So there's nothing wrong with that. The way you describe it, it sounds like there's some things that could stand some processing. But it doesn't. I'm not telling you one way or another to stay or not stay with your lady friend. Warhammer. What is that I say about all caps? Again, guys, it's just basic stuff. If I'm scrolling through, I'm not going to see it. You want me to see it? You got to get my attention. The question or honest feeling in all caps, so I see it. Warhammer says, I have 3 amazing nephews. How can I protect them magically? Who said you were supposed to do that? Can I use the runes to cast protection on them? Of course. I've been working out, but I feel need to do more. Why I feel like this? I don't know. I'm right now obsessed with, if you mean working out, going to the gym, I'm personally obsessed with it, so much so that I'm not resting. I've gained 7 pounds of muscle at 58 years of age. I was already working out a lot. I gained 7 pounds of muscle this month because I haven't been surfing as much. I've been working out 6 days a week. So you're talking to the wrong guy. I should be taking more time off, letting my muscles relax and stretching more. So why do you feel that way? I don't know. Saturn is Saturn still in Capricorn? I think it is. Saturn in Capricorn is making everybody work hard. But it's really awesome that you have amazing nephews. The best way you can protect your nephews is by you becoming the best man you can be. Your job isn't to protect them, although you can. Your job is to be an example for them. So if you really care about them, then you need to be looking at yourself and say, how can I get over my self-pity, my personal history? How can I be healthier, happier, more prosperous? Because they are going to take your cue. You are introjecting into them. If you do that and you're amazing and successful and happy, then you will introject. That's the most magical thing you can do. You will be hypnotizing them into following what you do, because you will do it. If you're not doing that, they're still going to follow your example. So you owe it to them to be as happy, as prosperous, and as healthy as you can stand. And if you're having trouble with that, then figure out what you can do to fix it. That's what this channel is all about. If you haven't already, subscribe to anything, the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, the Mao Shan. All of that stuff is designed to do exactly what you're talking about. And then you will be giving them the greatest gift that you can give them, because we live in a quantum field. What you do to yourself, everybody experiences. Your nephews have a much stronger quantum field attachment to you. There's an ethnic connection, a personal connection, a vibrational connection. Even if you're not related, the fact that you're their uncle means that there's this very strong, the quantum vibration between you is much stronger than other people. And you owe it to them to be the best person you can be. So subscribe, do the whatever, do that stuff. That's what it's there for. Or do the free stuff. I don't care. Una Voluspa, honest feeling tremendous gratitude for your teachings and live classrooms, such a haven of grounded knowledge I have relied on for years now. Thank you. What a kind thing to say. Thunder Staves Ranjel, Mahadeva, you didn't give me a test. I've emailed you a few times. But you were a girl about it. You didn't say, where's my test? You gave me that one. You said that my emotional agenda is to be the first. I didn't know that that's what you were asking for the test. So if I didn't put it in there, I think I did. Didn't I give some kind of, I think I did. I told you what to meditate on and what to do. I gave you some stuff to do, didn't I? Anyway, so obviously I need to think this through a little bit. So give me a little time to think it over, keep meditating on it, and I'll get myself together. That's nobody's fault. It's mine. I take responsibility for it, and I'm happy to fix it. Let's see what else. DC Pagan question. Can I still come back even after going into the light? Why are you asking that question? These kinds of questions, that's the kind of question you ask when you smoke a lot of weed. I don't understand that question. Do you plan on coming back? I mean, I've known people who have said, no, I like it here. I plan on coming back. If you plan on coming back, you'll come back. Your question again puts you in the state where you don't have any control. It's sort of like the opposite of I don't want to be thrown back here. I mean, it's the question is annoying me. Can I still come back even after going into the light? Yes. How is that? I never liked the idea of never reincarnating again okay, yes. Short answer, yes. Thunder Staves Rangel question, do you have any idea why I continue to choose men who are like my mother versus being like my father? Well, as I understand it, both men and women are more connected to their mother energy than their father for obvious reasons. So outside of that, we're getting out of my experience wheelhouse, because I know what it's like to be strongly heterosexual male. I don't know what it's like to, in this lifetime anyway, I don't remember what it's like being a woman. But it's great that you have that awareness. I wish I could give you a better answer than that. That's the best I can do. Zarelath, I'm also in exercise mode. Okay, that's not a question. Warhammer question, how can I get consultation with you personally? All right, so Warhammer, do you see the link over here? Courses.thunderwizard.com. Have you clicked on it? It's a decent question because I've got so much stuff I forget. If you want to get a personal session with me, you can go to career.thunderwizard.com. Scroll to the bottom and you will see a PayPal button where you can click on it and get a 1-hour session with me about anything you want. It's basic. It's on the page for people who are looking for career advice, but that's what I use if you just want a general personal session with me. And you're obviously not subscribed. I guess maybe should I open up more apprentice slots, paid apprentice slots? Should I do that? Let's see what else. So you did. All right. So that's my fault. Okay. So I take responsibility for that. You asked what the test was and never heard back. For some reason, I have some resistance about that. Part of it was that I put so much effort into putting it together because people had asked me for it. My experience was they were begging me for it. And I put it up there and then nothing happened. And then I said, well, screw it. If nobody wants it, I'm not going to put any more time into it. I think that was the mindset I had. So now that I have 3 of you that have bought it, I will go ahead and figure out how to do that. Okay? And then I've got it on my to-do list. I'm going to make the actual certificate in a PDF that you can send, that you can put on your wall, which, of course, I mean, the certificate really doesn't mean anything. But people like certificates, so let's see what else. So my apologies, Thundra and whomever else. I will get on that, and don't be afraid to harass me about it. I'm very caught up in a bunch of things right now, but I'm happy. You won't hurt my feelings if you keep harassing me about it. But be clear about it. I'm reminding you. Can you tell me, how to get can I have my certificate? Go ahead. You won't bother me. Creative Virgo question, with family narcissists, I realize questions are not out of sincerity. Instead, it's a trap. Okay, so far there's no question here. Instead, it's a trap set up to glean information to be used against you. I cannot figure out what advice to ask. All right, so your question is, I don't know what advice to ask. So Creative Virgo, you remember my other channel that I'm no longer uploading to? What did I tell you to do? Remember what I told you to do? You obviously haven't done all those things. So go back to that channel and do the 4 things. That's your only way out. If you're not willing to do those 4 things, I can't help you because I don't know any other way out of what you need help with. What else? Sundrasteves Ranjel, Mahadeva, I don't need a certificate as long as I have your permission to go about doing it. Go ahead. You don't need my permission to do anything. Yeah, go right ahead. You can, now, there isn't any other, let's see, the astrology people have to, if they want to do that, they get certified by me, which means I put them up on the website. The rune reading, they get certified by me, but I also get a $25, whenever you get a reading, you throw $25 at me if you are certified and you got it off my website. I'm not going to have that with the healing. You can say, I give myself the right to change my mind later, but I don't see any reason to because it's healing. So you can say that you are a thunder wizard, whatever it is, lightning qigong healer. You do not have to kick back anything to me on it. You can use my name and the lightning qigong and say that you've been trained in my and certified in my healing protocol. And that's because it's healing, I want it to get out. I want people to learn it. Just learning how to do it will be healing. So there you have my permission now. It's on video. Now you can take me to court and say, on video you said. So go for it. Vincent.thunderwizard.com question, how do I stop judging myself? That's a really great question. I feel great freedom in the moments I stop doing it, but I've come to realize it's my default programming. Yep, that's exactly it. Well, as Castaneda said brilliantly and accurately, you worked your ass off. He said head, but you worked your ass off teaching yourself how to become, how to have self-judgment. Which is another, aspect of self-pity. So you learned how to judge yourself. And we've expressed that before. Remember the beginning of this, I said that the deepest, most fundamental instinct is to be loved. And little infants will die if they don't get love. Which means that everything everybody does, I don't care if they're the worst narcissistic serial killer in existence, everything they do is because in their mindset, that's what will get them love. That's what they think will bring them love. So you believe that judging yourself will eventually give you love. In your case, your experience may have been that your parents, your mom and or your dad, judged you. I'm not saying they did. That was obviously your experience of it. And so you get ahead of them because when you judge yourself, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, Mom, you don't have to judge me. Dad, you don't have to judge me. I'm going to do it first. I'll do it better than you. Do you love me now? It's a way of getting attention. It's a way of feeling safe. It's a feeling of power. Remember, self-pity, self-judgment, judging others, pitying others, codependence, control, abuse, all of these two sides of the same coin are all ways that we use to try to manipulate people and or the universe to give us what we think we want. So the shorter answer is to stop doing it. How do I stop doing it? Well, that program, that judgment is a program. You worked really hard to build the program, to build the code for it, to press play, and you've indulged in it. When something happens that makes you feel insecure or who knows what the trigger is for you, you judge yourself. in times past you've really indulged and really fed that monster, and now it's just running on its own. So the thing to do is to be aware. Oh, I'm judging myself. Wow, I feel shame. This isn't going to bring me love. I can't use this to get what I want. Other things like my soul will give me everything that I need. I am not this. You can acknowledge this is not you, but you feel it. And as you know, enlightenment is nothing more than having all of your thoughts, all of your feelings, positive and negative, pleasant and unpleasant, without judgment, having all of them without judgment, and then having the consciousness to take constructive action. So you may not be able to, quote, stop judging yourself. What you're really asking me is, how do I stop feeling bad? Because judging yourself feels bad, and you don't want to feel bad. And that's a perfectly normal place to be. You may not be able to stop the feelings right now. And I'm not saying you can't, because maybe you will. Anything is possible. But if you are feeling it, then what you can do is acknowledge that judgment and go, wow, I'm feeling really bad because I'm judging myself. And so you can do the opposite. You can take an action. So here's one thing you can do, one thing we can all do, because your facade, as Castaneda put it, I would say, your character, because we create characters. Being an actor, I recommend everybody take an acting class, because being an actor, really, you create humans. You create an actual human inside of you. And when you allow yourself to go into that, you start to channel that character. So lots of times what I do, because I've done this before, is if I'm feeling insecure, angry, upset, self-pity, I will go, okay, what would somebody, and I may come up with somebody in my mind, whom I see as somebody who's successful and self-confident and happy with themselves and loves other people. I might say, what would that person do? And I get myself into that feeling of that person, knowing that it's not me, that it's a character that I'm creating. I get myself into that and I say, what would that person say? What would that person do? What would that person act like? And then I know what that person would do. And then I still have my feeling and I act like I'm the other person. I take the actions that the other person would do, even though I know that's not who I am. But the great thing is that the world doesn't know the difference, and I get the benefits that other guy would get. So when you're judging yourself, you can go, okay, I'm Vincent and I'm judging myself and I have these feelings, but pick somebody that you respect and admire and go, what would so-and-so say? Like they say, what would Jesus do, right? What would Shiva do? What would Hanuman do? What would Odin do? What would they physically do from them, right? And then go do that. And you'll get what they would get from it. And how you feel is really meaningless. It's just that program playing in the background. And eventually it runs out of steam. There's a lot of programs that I've had that have completely eradicated. A lot of them haven't. The ones that are most strongly associated with my story, my personal history. But I'll tell you something, I didn't have the greatest childhood, as you know. So I don't have any positive or happy feelings associated with any of my family members. I can say that openly now. My sister passed, and I did love her when we were little kids. She was 8 years older than me, and she was very protective and loving for a few years. And then she left. She disappeared and left me with all of the horrible people. But now that everybody in my family has died, except for my brother, I don't know if he's still alive or not, but everybody in my family has died, there's no more karmic energy feeding that personal history, and I can let it go. And I've done a whole heck of a lot of work to work through those resentments and that pain in therapy and in 12-step work, especially the fourth step. So I've erased a lot of personal history. So them dying just kind of released me from that. And I'm free to create my own identity. I'm freer than I was. And I can now create the Mahadeva identity if I want to do that. So does that answer your question? Scro Bay, if you have a question, write the word question. I only read the first part, and I have doubts as to whether or not this is an honest question. Let me read it silently. So you're new to my channel, Scro Bay? Yes? So welcome to the channel. If you are willing to stay here with an open mind, and more importantly, if you are willing to do the practices, if you don't want to subscribe to any of it, then go on my channel and go to the playlists and look for the Qigong meditations, the exercises, and do them. I challenge you to do the Hool breath, at the very least. Do that every day for at least 10 minutes for a month and tell me if you don't see a benefit. So I don't know if this is passive aggressively attached to me or if you're talking about other people, but it definitely shows your projection from your experience, which is your personal history of lack. You don't get enough. Because, and it also tells me that it makes me wonder what you do for a living. Because part of the other thing is once people, like if you work for yourself and you know that you have to pay your own bills and create a business, you don't judge people for creating a business and charging money because you know what it's like. So you say, you don't write the word question like I ask people to do, but you say, do people who do yoga and seek money for physical benefits really consider spirituality as a tool? I have no idea what that means. So people who do yoga and seek money for physical benefits, what does that mean? Why else would you seek money? What have you, it sounds like you have something against money. You think that spiritual people shouldn't have money. Again, there's just a lot of stuff in there that's not clear. Do they really consider spirituality as a tool? I don't know what you mean by that. Of course, spirituality is a tool. A tool for what? A tool for your own empowerment, your own awareness, your own happiness. Of course it's a tool. Or are they the tools for some economic stronghold? So you're saying that if somebody has a yoga studio and they charge money for classes, that they're being tools by some economic stronghold? And Scro Bay, how old are you? And how do you pay for your food? You've got some serious problems with money. But money doesn't exist. Money doesn't exist. You're getting upset over something that doesn't exist. And it is the way that, like it or not, this is how you get food, you get clothing, you get a place to live. You spend money every day. I know you do. Unless you're 10 years old and you live with your parents. So I'm sorry that this is such a painful thing for you, but here's the thing. Money symbolizes love. So this tells me that you don't feel loved, or you didn't have the experience of getting enough love. That is too painful for you to acknowledge consciously yet, so you project it onto the world. The world is a cutthroat place that uses money as this evil thing because you don't have it. If you had it, you wouldn't worry about it. So I'm guessing you don't have money. It makes me wonder if you have a job. Let me see. You said something that YouTube has blocked out. So there's something you said. Let's see here. So you're trying again. So the other thing, I'm looking at this Scro Bay again. Question in all caps. Pay attention. Two most important things in the universe. Pay attention and put effort. So pay attention. I said write question in all caps and put the effort of doing what I ask so I can give you what you want. This is about you. And don't give me such intellectual questions. Talk about your feelings. Don't talk about third persons. Let me read this silently and see if it's worth my time. So, Scrobe, I'm not even going to read the question because you've already judged that person. So what am I going to say? You've set it up. You've created a scenario of somebody that doesn't exist. I'll just let everybody hear it. This again, what little I know about you, and I'm gonna stop focusing on you after this because we'll work on other stuff. I can tell you're insecure. I can tell you're in pain. I can tell you feel unloved, and I feel for you. So that's not a judgment. I feel for you. I want you to find those things. I also know that you don't feel comfortable sharing your vulnerable feelings because you're talking about other people instead of yourself. So you say, question, I have a friend, let's say. So we don't know if this person exists. You're making up a person so that you can feel justified to create somebody that you're now going to judge. Because what you want to say is that people shouldn't go to yoga class to look good because that's wrong. Wanting to look good is wrong. Wanting to, as you say, have sex, which could also mean wanting to find love. Those things are all wrong. And these are, you think that's unspiritual because the truth is you have those feelings. You want to find love. You want to find sex. Maybe you're not getting sex. Maybe you're not finding love. And so you feel insecure, so you're judging those that do. I have a friend, let's say, who does yoga to look good on the beach. What difference does it make if he does yoga to look good on the beach or if he goes to the gym to look good on the beach? What difference does it make? He wants to look good on the beach. Why is that wrong? I don't understand the problem. He wants to look good. What's wrong with wanting anything? To have sex with women, I mean, most young straight men want to have sex with women. What's wrong with that? We're not talking about behavior. We're just talking about desires. What's wrong with nothing wrong with any desire. How he goes about fulfilling that desire is, what's important. Why do you judge yourself for wanting to look good? Why do you judge yourself for wanting to have sex? Those are normal things. You can't avoid those things. There's nothing unspiritual about that. Stop judging yourself as you talk about these fictional third people. Even if there's a real person that you know of that does that, you're judging them because you don't have those things. On the beach, who look to have sex with women either through conquering, pity, or flash. How did you become so enlightened that you know exactly that those are the only things driving them? That is, there's so much judgment in there. There's no compassion. Have compassion for the poor guy. The poor guy wants love. Don't you want love? I want love. Don't you want love so bad that you're willing to do what it takes? Look, I'm attracted to attractive women. There's nothing wrong with people doing whatever it is that they do that makes them feel good and attractive. That physical isn't the only thing that's attractive. I'm attracted to a lot of other things too. But that takes work. Even that takes work. This really shows your self-judgment. And I feel for you. I feel sad for you that you dislike yourself so much. And I'm not judging you. But you have to see that in other people. So I'm not going to take your bait. What you want me to say is, of course not. People shouldn't be going to yoga to look good to have sex. That's unspiritual. That's superficial. That's wrong. I'm not going to say that. But it's obvious you feel that way about yourself. So I give you permission. As a spiritual teacher, I'm here officially giving you permission to be human. Have your desire, stop judging yourself, and go look for anything that makes you happy. And stop comparing yourself to other people and stop judging other people. Have compassion for them. Next time you see that guy who you say exists, which may not exist, who goes to yoga to look good and get on the beach and conquer women, whatever, instead of judging them, because I know what happens. You look at them and you think, that guy's better looking than me. He's going to get laid. I'm not. How do I know? Because I lived through that. I know exactly what you're talking about because I lived it. Instead of doing that, try having compassion. That guy wants to be loved. He needs love so bad that he's doing all of those things which make me uncomfortable. But I hope he finds what he's looking for. I hope he finds the love that he's looking for. And if he is doing something that's insecure or that's superficial, I hope he finds the awareness to find a more productive, successful way to get that need for love met. So stop judging other people and do that for yourself. When you do it for him, you'll be doing it for yourself. Because what you do to him, you do to you. You judge him for being that, you're judging yourself all the time. What else? Moon Priestess. Question, are you doing questions right now? Obviously I am, yes. Ron C., honest feeling, please put it in all caps. I'm feeling very excited and nostalgic working with the Manaj rune because it's a new path created by myself in alignment while next to the old path full of fears and anxieties. Awesome. Manaj is great because it gives you access to your meditative mind, which is, one of the tools we use to achieve what we're talking about. VL Now. Question. How to approach turning around a 3-year stump? I have to say, when people write questions like that, why don't you just write it normally? You don't talk like that, right? You don't walk up to somebody and say, how to get to store. You don't talk like that. Why do people write that way? Say, how do I approach? You can do whatever you want. That's just my pet peeve. How do I approach turning around a 3-year slump and rut in finances, energy, and creativity and fitness? What do you expect from me to give you one word? My suggestion to you, assuming you're new to the channel, is go to thunderwizard.com. Am I pointing in the right direction here? Hang on. Go to thunderwizard.com right now because we just started the month, and go to Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong and subscribe. Go to the video there, scroll to the bottom, click play, do those practices. I have a morning practice, an afternoon practice, and an evening practice. Do as many or little of those practices as you want. Do them every day. I talk to you about how to do exactly what you asked. That's the best and most effective answer I can give you. It's going to take action and work on your part. Go do it. Skiro Bay question. Right. So the word question in all caps, you don't have to capitalize everything because then you're screaming at me. Again, pay attention. I said, write the word question in all caps, not the whole thing. Why are they claiming I'm an overborf? I don't know what that is. Learn how to spell. Are you high? What's going on? What is that? Skiro Bay question. Oh, I did it right this time. Could it be I'll practice whole breath, but you completely missed? Could it be? Are you asking? There's not a question there. So welcome to the channel. Here's how a question works. You're asking me something that you think I have the answer to that you don't. That question is, you're trying to double down. You want to tell me I misunderstood you. You feel attacked. You feel judged. This is what happens when you walk into my classroom. I'm the teacher. So you make the assumption that I know something that you don't, which means I have a really good ability most of the time to know what is really going on with you. I have a really good ability to get into your unconscious mind and know what your real question is and what the source of it is. Doubling down, telling me that I don't understand is incredibly codependent. You're trying to tell me that you're worthwhile. You think I'm attacking your essence. I'm not. I'm trying to help you. But I have a limited amount of time. If we had an hour and you were my student and we had an hour session, I could go through it slowly and get you there so that your ego was intact. But I have, only a couple of minutes for each question. And in order to help you, I have to completely eviscerate your ego. So listen to what I say. You're not going to change my mind. you have a lot of insecurity. You have insecurity about money, you have insecurity about sex, you have insecurity about love, you have insecurity about your physical body. You have difficulty getting to your core of your emotions, and you're like everybody else. You're human. These are all human things that we all have. You're new to the channel, so you're not used to somebody talking to you like this. You think I'm your father and I'm scolding you and I'm calling you out and calling you names. And none of those things are happening. So learn how to meditate, learn how to hear what I say, and learn how to deal with your desire to want to double down and explain, no, you're wrong, this is what I meant, you misunderstood me. You learn to sit with all that. And if I am wrong, which does happen, then learn to individuate to the extent and go, yeah, he didn't understand me at all. And just let me say what I'm saying, because it will be speaking to somebody. All right? So welcome to the channel. Spend some time watching the videos, learning what it is that I do. Your best bet is to start doing the work. If you can afford it, go and subscribe. Now's a good time. And if you decide you don't like it, you can unsubscribe whenever you want. Okay? If that doesn't work, then go onto my channel, look at the playlists, and do the free Qigong exercises. And here's my suggestion to everybody. Do one of those things, the Huol breath, the lightning Qigong, the heaven earth meditation, the Thor's belt, or any number of the energy practices that I have. Do it every day, at least 10 minutes. 11 minutes is better because 11 signifies infinity. 11 minutes a day, every day for a month. And keep coming back to the channel and keep learning and keep doing the practices. And learn how to be uncomfortable, because I will most likely make you uncomfortable. But if you do the work, I'll say this, every single person who has followed my instructions and has done the work, every single person, their life gets better. They become more happy, they become more successful, they become more prosperous. And so that's what I recommend to everybody here, especially if I push your buttons. It's not my intention, but it will happen, and there you go. All right, enough of that. What else? Any other thoughts, questions? Nothing? Okay. So I guess that's that. All right. So I'm getting a lot of responses to the sorry, what is that? The channeling. I'm having some resistance channeling the thunder lizard. I'm having some resistance to that because if you think I'm harsh, he's going to be really harsh. I'm also having some resistance to the whole thing because it's a really new, fun, and interesting experience. But I want to encourage you, if this is something that you enjoy, if it's helpful to you, keep writing questions. And so there's 3 of us now running this channel. There might be a 4th one. There's a 4th one that I'm thinking of, but one step at a time. So there's me. I'm like the nexus, right? And then there's the Mahadeva energy, the time traveler, who I am continuing to increase my connection with, and you'll see more and more of him. And you'll see more and more of him in me as well. And then there's the Ophiuchus, the reptilian. And so the best way is if you know who you're asking a question. If you want to ask a specific question like, how do I do this? That's best asked me, because I'm going to tell you what exercise to do or how to look at it or what it means, because I'm in 3-dimensional reality. If you want to learn from Mahadeva, the best question to ask him is questions about staying in the eternal now, manifesting, channeling, changing your experience, asking him, how to win the lottery. He's not going to respond to that. Um, and Ophiuchus, the best way to talk to him is to ask him questions about what the reptilian, what they really want, what they're really doing, those kinds of questions like that. People are asking great questions about the reptilian anointing, the Cylon upgrade, but that's challenging to talk about on this channel. And anyway, we'll see what comes with that. So there's that. I've done all the business. There you go. Also, the awakening or summoning the immortals qigong, the most powerful thing you can do. It's free. Everybody do it. I challenge everybody to do something every day. I dare you to do it and tell me that nothing changed for you. Moon Priestess question: how do I work with my ancestors? Well, you're doing it. Working with the runes is working with the ancestors by definition. So keep doing that. I'm from Norse and Germanic ancestry. So am I. So are very, very many people. If you have pale skin and light eyes, most likely you have some Germanic ancestry in you. I do the Hool breath and the immortal practice, two incredibly powerful practices. I also do quite a few rituals you've given, and I also practice with the runes, but having a hard time figuring out my ancestors. I don't know why you need to figure them out. They know who they are. Connecting with them is what's important, and you're doing everything you're doing is connecting directly to them. So I don't know how it's okay with me that you want to figure them out, but you don't have to. I've watched your videos about ancestor rituals to do, and I followed them, but nothing. What do you mean nothing? I don't believe that nothing happened. You may have had an expectation, and it didn't happen the way you wanted. What do you want? You want them to come down on a beam of light and appear in front of you and speak in Old Norse? That didn't happen. That doesn't mean you didn't connect with them. So whatever expectations you haven't made that clear to me. And I don't know if I've said to anybody what you can expect or what you should expect. I tell people not to have expectations. In fact, in any of the things I tell you, you may have an experience, you may not. That's not what's important. What's important is that you do the practice. It will affect your unconscious. It will affect your body. It will affect your life. Whether you feel it or not, that's a whole other thing. Also having a hard time being aware if they are around me or communicating with me. You're trying too hard. You don't have to figure any of that stuff out. You probably have an expectation of what it's supposed to be. So let me just tell you how I got the Hool breath. Again, the most powerful all-around practice I have. I recommend everybody do it, the Hool breath. The way I got the Hool breath was this. I had come to the end of working with my Taoist teacher. I had worked with my yoga teacher. I was learning Vedic mantra and ritual, and I was doing a bunch of different traditions that had differing energies, and I was having energy clashes. And so much so that I was getting these headaches, and I was too overheated in my body, and it was really damaging to me. And I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have, at that point, my teachers had abandoned me, and I didn't have anybody to help me. So in meditation, I just simply closed my eyes, and in meditation, and I'd never done this before. I was desperate. So in meditation, I said, whoever's out there, please give me a one-word syllable breath meditation to balance my energy. And very subtly, in the back of my mind, like a whisper, if I had chosen to, I could have easily just brushed it off like a mosquito. It was in the back of my mind like a whisper, and I heard the sound, and I got a very slight impression of how the energy came down, and then I did it. The posture and everything, I did it, and immediately my energy was balanced. I didn't have this big giant opening of the skies where So are they communicating with you? They might be, and you're trying too hard. You're expecting something else, or you're trying too hard. The noise of your own thinking is getting in the way of, the thing about the ancestors is they're very subtle. So you have to be in a very calm, subtle place to hear them. And you're going to think it's your own mind. You can very easily go, oh, that's my own mind. Because the truth of the matter is that the people who see things, the sky opening up, and those people have mental issues. Those are people that have delusions. Those are people with psychotic disorders or schizophrenia. Those people think they see the gods and they're not. They're seeing their own unconscious fantasies and fears, and they think they're having a spiritual experience. True connection, it doesn't have to always be this way, but almost virtually every time is a very subtle experience, and you have to choose to listen. And again, the way you figure out whether or not it came from you or it came from the ancestors, like I did the practice, and immediately I had my body got fixed. I taught it to others. They had the same experience. I did research. I found out things about that sound that I couldn't have possibly known, which means I didn't make it up. But at the time, you're wondering, is this coming from me or is this coming from them? It's always very subtle. So you're trying too hard. You're looking for something. You've got an idea of what's supposed to happen, and it may not have to happen that way for you. Let's see what else. Okay, you're talking about dreams, which sounds awesome. See what's happening even with my eyes open. This has never happened to me till starting 3 weeks ago. So you're just, forgive me, but you just contradicted yourself. You just said, I've done this, but nothing happened. And now I'm seeing things with, in my waking experience, I'm seeing visions. Again, I said that thing about people who have those big issues, big experiences, lots of times have mental issues. Doesn't mean that has to be the case. So why aren't you just allowing the experience that you're having be what it is? The thing to do, though, is you work it out in objective reality. So in objective reality, whatever the vision is, you test it out. If it's coming from the ancestors, it will have some real world practical effect. Here are the criteria for true spiritual experiences. Are you healthier? Are you happier? Are you more prosperous? These three things means that you have had a true spiritual experience. I don't care if the sky opens up and you see this, that, and the other thing, and if what happens is you get more unhealthy, you become more unhappy, and you have less finances, then what you just experienced was your own unconscious narcissism. So healthy, happy, prosperous means you've had a spiritual experience, regardless of how dramatic or not. If it's dramatic, turns out to be true in the real world, then it really was. Dramatic and nothing happens. To give an example, I had a friend, well, I still have him. I love him, but his life is a mess. He's very unhealthy. He's a drug addict. Definitely not living the kind of life I would be living. And he had taken some hallucinogen, one of the popular ones that you take, and it gets you hallucinate for 30 seconds or whatever it is. I forget what it's called. And he was talking about it, and he says, he's trying to tell me to do it. And I said, no, I'm good. And he says, no, seriously, I can't explain it to you, but it completely changed my life. And I didn't say anything, but I thought to myself, but it didn't do a damn thing to make your life better. Your life is shit. So he thought he had a spiritual experience, but it didn't make him happier, didn't make him healthier, and didn't give him any prosperity. Spiritual experiences will give that to you. You do mantras, you don't feel anything, but if you look back on it, I'm healthier, happier, more prosperous. You have a vision, you apply it in your life, because visions will always have some practical use. And if you apply it in your life in a practical way, if you get healthier, happier, more prosperous, it's real. Okay? So that's my limited experience. I don't have all of the answers, and I'm not, I have my way of doing things. If you're a seed shaman, which most women, there's a difference between the wizard and the seed shaman. Watch my videos about that. You might be a seed shaman, which means that you have visions and don't know what to do with them. That's where the wizard comes in. So I don't know everything there is to know, but keep experimenting and you will figure it out, is my suggestion for you. Baba Junzo question: can I send my intentions to the northwest after doing the butterfly hands in the same way you teach in the closing part of the Immortals Qigong? Sure. Why not? Honest feeling above. Did I miss your honest feeling, Vincent? Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Honest feeling. It feels weird and good to be more conscious than my parents, from my perspective. I understand. Maybe you feel a little bit guilty. You're on your own. You're by yourself. You're out there in the wind, floating in the wind all by yourself. This is called being individuated. You're experiencing individuation, which is the goal of all spirituality. Congratulations. All right. Is that everything? That's everything. All right, guys. That's it for me. I appreciate you coming on. And again, keep asking all the questions. Here's my question for you before I end. There are people that have asked, they want to ask Mahadeva questions, but they don't want to do it publicly. Obviously, that would be really, that means a personal session. So obviously, I'm not going to, give people my email, and then I'd be flooded with people wanting to have private readings from Mahadeva, and of course, I'm not going to do that. I don't have the time for that. But should I offer that as a service? Should I offer that as a service if somebody has a question for Mahadeva that they can't ask, and maybe have a service where I upload a private video for Mahadeva, responds to their question? Do you think that's a service that I should offer? That's my question for you guys. Okay, that's it for me. Nothing else. I got to eat and relax, and I'm not going to go to the gym tomorrow. And that's all. I wish you guys all the best. Thanks so much for showing up.